And so
Hey everyone,
officially,
it's Fraser Matthews here. I'm Global Brand Ambassador for
hold on,
Bruichladdich Distillery on Islay. I know I've met a few of you, both on the
uh,
island and indeed in.
hold on. That was not supposed to play. Did you guys hear? Yeah, okay, you heard it. So sorry, we'll get to that in a little bit. But so officially, welcome to our annual Bruichladdich tasting. I know you guys wait for this every year. This year we did it in December, and and so we're going out with 2025 with a bang. So I always pull off as much stuff as I can from the Laddie shelves over here. So that's what's in the background over here. This is my newly minted Bruichladdich wall from moving back into my house. But and today we are joined by Devin Vilardi, who's been a great friend of the club over the years. In fact, we may have another tasting next year with Devin coming too, which I haven't told him yet, but he sent us a little Garyana present, which we're gonna share.
Yeah.
So, Devin, why don't you introduce yourselves in case there's anyone here who doesn't know you? Um, I know Andrew knows you well, so we don't have to worry about that introduction.
Terrific. Thank you, Nendo. And hi, everybody. Hello to the execs, one of my favorite clubs in the country. As our glorious leader has told you, my name is Devin Vilardi. For those of you who have not met me, I'm Remy Cointreau's brand ambassador for our whiskey portfolio. I cover both the Bruichladdich distillery as well as the Westland distillery in Seattle. Um, I am not coming at you from this beautiful beach on Isla, as you see. I am actually coming to you today from Long Island, New York, where I've recently moved from Seattle. So, not my usual setup today. I'm a little disheveled. I apologize for that. Normally, I have my own little Brookline wall in the background, is what today I had to go virtual background. But I've done tastings with the execs for, gosh, it's going on a few years. I've been in my current. Well, I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. I was originally joined the Bruichladdich team as the West Coast brand ambassador. I've recently moved over to the East Coast to take up that role. Currently, we're not hiring yet for the West Coast position, so I'm kind of covering the entire country. However, I am doing yeah, this is going on 5 years with Remy Cointreau, every year of which I've enjoyed representing these two absolutely fantastic whiskeys. But even before I joined Remy Cointreau, I joined my colleague Curate, or Whiskey Monster, for a tasting with the Execs Whiskey Club back when I was working the Paul John Whiskey Indian single malt whiskey circuit. So I may have met a couple of you guys back then. That being said, I'm really excited to join you guys today and taste these amazing whiskeys. One of my favorite things about doing tastings with the Execs Whiskey Club is I get to taste Bruichladdich even I haven't had before, which is actually saying something. I don't know if you're going to see a lot of whiskey tastings where the brand ambassador is kind of like the quietest one in the room, but this may be one of those days today.
And
So
we
it's a pleasure to
appreciate
join
that,
you.
Devin. This is, I think, the second time you've jumped on a Bruichladdich tasting. You did ours 2.5 years ago, too. So
That was so much fun. It was all independent bottlings. I was
it was. Okay.
definitely learned as much as I gave that day too. Fantastic.
Yeah, and then we have another video from Fraser, who is the what is he, the national or the world
He's our
ambassador?
global, yeah, one of our
Global
global
ambassador.
ambassadors based
Sorry,
on Isla.
words are hard
But you
today.
guys may have met him in the last few couple years. He's come and visited a couple times.
Yeah, he was just here. So I'll play his video. We are going to start with the Regeneration project, which is Bruichladdich very first rye project ever, even though it doesn't say rye on here. It does say single grain, but this is a rye. And the new, maybe Devin can plug this, but the new rye that just came out, this was kind of the tester for what's bottled in that. But let me play
Yeah.
this. Let me share my screen, play this. And it would be great if I remembered how to share my screen, but here we go. I got it.
Remy Quantra was all teams, so I can't help you.
No worries. Okay, here we can you guys see this? Do you see it?
I do.
All right. Because every time I've tried to share, no one sees it. But or maybe they don't hear it. One of the two. All right, here we go.
Hey everyone, it's Fraser Matthews here. I'm Global Brand Ambassador for Bruichladdich Distillery on Islay. I know I've met a few of you, both on the island and indeed in Southern California, where I visited a couple of times. Gutted I can't make the tasting Sunday night. I know it's only virtual, but it would have been amazing to reconnect with a lot of you. Hopefully I'll be back stateside at some point in the new year, and I'm sure when that happens, Fernando will let you all know, and it'd be great to see a few of you in person. I know you're in great hands with him in my absence, but I just wanted to reach out and say that I hope the tasting goes really well. I hope you all have an amazing festive period. I'm getting into the festive spirit right now, and it won't be the only spirit that I'm getting into. I've got the amazing Cuvée F series from the original Cuvée series released here at Bruichladdich. This one's finished in Sauterne. So yeah, just wanted to say, hope everything goes well Sunday night. Hope to see you soon, and slàinte.
So a little Sansibar there.
Yeah, Sansibar.
And I always love the Laddie tasting because it's the only time I ever pull out my Bruichladdich, dedicated Bruichladdich glasses. So we will taste with these today.
Hi.
Okay, Regeneration Project. Devin, do you want to talk about why we're doing the rise? Or not we, but why Bruichladdich
Yeah.
rise?
Well, to Nando's point, we are, just after release right now in the United States of our Bruichladdich rye, an 8-year-old rye made from a combination of obviously rye farmed and harvested on Islay from Andrew Smith over at Mythical Farms, just down the road from the distillery. The current release is an American-only release. The Bruichladdich rye you're going to be able to find in the stores. So what we're tasting here today, the Regeneration Project, is something that only those who have visited the distillery have had the opportunity to taste. This is kind of the forebear of that American-only release. But there's really just so much going on in this particular glass also, and it has a lot of distinctions as I think really tying in with Bruichladdich philosophy, as well as really kind of like an example of this distillery being a part of their community by listening to the demands of their farming partners. As anybody who's spent a bit of time with Bruichladdich knows, so much of our philosophy, especially since the renaissance of the distillery in 2001, when we were purchased and reopened by Murray McDavid, who very quickly and rightly put Jim McEwan, the legend, at the helm. One of the very first philosophies they tried to enact was a connection to these local farmers. And I know that Jim spent quite a few years actually trying to persuade local farmers to grow barley for us. And it's quite an interesting story about the lengths that they went through to actually make that happen. My background with the Westland Distillery, based in Seattle, I got a lot of opportunities to spend time with barley farmers who were really having trouble with the commodity system as it's set up in the United States. And so when I finally got over to Islay and started actually talking to some of the farmers that we'd work with, I found it to be similarly or starkly similar to the stories I was hearing from those farmers in the Pacific Northwest. Like the agricultural, commodity system of big agriculture, even there in Europe, it does not put a lot of value on certain crops. So farmers really grow barley at loss. They grow barley because they need to as a birotational crop. It puts, it can actually be restorative of soil, as is rye. But at the same time, like growing barley commercially, was not very feasible. So farmers in that Jim was encountering, really, while they were interested in what Bruichladdich could bring to the community, they weren't ready to commit to actually growing barley for us. It wasn't until about 2004 that Jim and Duncan basically handed a blank check to one of the farmers up at Sunderland Farms and got him to grow the very first crop of barley. And I think quite a few of you guys have tasted that very first crop of barley this past year with the Bruichladdich 18-year-old. But that was that very first crop. Andrew at Mythical Farms was also one of our original farming partners and still works with us to this day. We work with 20 farms just on the island itself. But Andrew came to Bruichladdich several years back and actually really talked about his interest in growing rye, because of the aspects where it can actually help the soil. Rye is extraordinarily beneficial. It has incredible amount of plant matter that actually goes into the ground as it grows. Its root structures are shallow but penetrative, so it actually allows for water to filter through the top layer of soils. And interestingly enough, obviously the distillery was like, whatever you'd like to do, we'll absolutely support it. It was not something that they had really experimented with, the idea of releasing a grain whiskey, but it is absolutely a part of the Scotch whiskey world. I think an often overlooked part. So the Regeneration project was born from that very first crop of rye grown by the Mid-Cool farms. And how that's gone so far over the years has been incredible. And recently, those of you guys might have paid attention, um, for our celebrating our second recertification of our B Corp status, which we initially achieved in 2020. As you guys might know, we were recertified in 2023. We beat our initial score by a full 20%. And then right now we're gearing up for our second reassessment. That's B Corp. It's on you to keep improving and keep being sustainable. So the actual B Lab certified, the organization that oversees B Corp certified companies and the assessment, the B Impact assessment that you require, they did a video kind of showcasing some of the most incredibly craft focused B corporations around the world. And they spent a bit of time with Adam Hannett out in the fields of Isla, and they stopped off at Mid-Cool Farms, and we're talking with Andrew Jones about why he's, what the experience has been like growing barley for the farming partner, for a distillery partner right across the street, kind of sidestepping those big commodity systems. But also being so hand in hand, he was actually pointing out these three fields behind him, two of which he'd grown rye in the off seasons. And the third one, just straight barley year round. In two of these fields, oh, well, actually, I should say, in that one field where he did not grow rye, you could see standing water in that field behind you, as it had rained a couple days before. In those two fields where he'd grown the rye, no puddles. That water is able to filter down. It's actually just one visual way you could see why growing rye was beneficial to the farming community around us. And also that it tastes really good. It comes out really well. While this also characterizes as a Scotch, it would characterize as a rye here in the United States. So, I think it makes for some good cocktails. However, the Regeneration project that we're drinking right now, a little hard to come by sustainably for your bar on the corner. So now that we have Bruichladdich rye, I'm pretty excited to see some good Manhattans made with Bruichladdich. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I know it's actually a Rob Roy, but it's kind of changing things, right?
Yeah.
Cheers.
Has everyone here had the Laddie rye previously?
I'd love to hear some feedback because
Of those of
I'm
you
really
that
getting the
have,
word.
Do you prefer this or the Laddie rye?
Prefer this or the which one, Nando?
Or the
The
new,
Laddie rye?
the American version, the Laddie
Oh, the
rye.
American version. I mean, I only have tried the Scottish version. I actually got a sample from this year's Face Isle. So that's the
Okay.
newest one. And I don't even really like rye too much whiskey wise, but I really like this. That malted barley kicks in and smooths it up nicely. So I really like it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm a little bit of a weirdo when it comes to rye, so I actually like the Regeneration project, and it's a little bit greener. It's a little bit like more young rye forward, and you're tasting the grain, and like less barrel than the current rye in the U.S. market.
I'd have to agree with you on that. I find a little bit more of that herbaceousness that I'm kind of expecting with younger ryes. Whereas the American release is a little bit older than this one at 8 year old. So I think it does soften out and take on a little bit more barrel influence. So
Yeah, I agree. This one's a little more interesting. It's got a little more flavor. You get a little more of the rye characteristic in this.
So, okay. Well, I'm glad you guys spoke first because for me, I actually really enjoy this one, where the other rye I think is it felt like a really good place to start because I like that malted barley component in it. I think it's going to make it for great cocktails for sure, to your point, Devin. Um, but was I in love with it? No. But I really like this, and this is 5 year versus the 8 year.
Yeah.
And this one punches much harder than the other one, and they're both 50%, at least on my on the palate, which is surprising. So, I really
I
enjoy.
believe the one of the bigger differences with the Regeneration project, I mean, they are obviously using a certain amount of first fill bourbon barrels with the Regeneration project. I don't think they're using as high, or they used as high a proportion of the virgin oak that we see in the American release, the Laddie Rye 8-year-old, which definitely, look, I mean, those of you in this club, you know all about cask influence. But even when I speak to whiskey lovers around the country who really know their shit, like I think a lot of people question themselves as to trusting their palate. And one thing that's, you know, blaring is the use of virgin oak. It jumps right out at you. You've got a lot of effect. It's not quite as subtle as you get with the wine casks that a real Bruichladdich lover has come to enjoy. And with this one, the first bourbon barrels, I think, play a bit of a role. So a little softer, a little honeyed, more vanilla, kind of plays in well. The other one, a bit starker, more woody, as Andrew mentioned before.
That said, I do think the version in the U.S. is probably the more market-friendly version for most people, probably better for bars. And with Stauning pulling out of the U.S. market, slides right in there with that blended single malt rye characteristic that nobody else has in the U.S. market currently. Right.
Well, I recently was at Warehouse Liquors in Chicago. Anybody have been there?
Horrible place. Don't ever go.
Gene's a good friend.
Don't waste your time. He never gets anything good. Don't go there. Don't trust me. But
stay away, please.
He was quite interested in this because he was tasting another single grain rye. Although it wasn't Isla, I believe it was from the Isla Scapa. But I can't remember. I'm going to see if I can find the picture I took of it and send it over to Nando. But yeah, I mean, obviously, look, this is not the Laddie. The Regeneration project was Isla's first rye. The Laddie rye, definitely to push it out in the United States, definitely not the first single grain Scotch to come to the U.S. as a rye. But I really think it does have a lot of potential. As we're looking at a whiskey economy that's shifting, the price point on the new Laddie rye actually does, as you said, make it competitive with American bars and gives an opportunity to bring something new to your cocktail menu. So I'm excited about it, and the interest seems to be up there. So,
oh no, I think it's awesome that we're doing ryes, obviously for the reason for the crop rotations and all the good that's going to bring, right? But also, what's going to be bottled, I think, in the future. I'm super excited for it. So that's also why I want to get this. One, it kind of worked because my thought process for this tasting was to do a 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. But I went through 5 through 15, so we got 5, 10, 15. And then I thought there was some interesting stuff that you guys would want to try that didn't quite fit that mold. But really enjoy this. I'm actually really glad we got this to put this in the tasting. I like this. I'm a fan of this one.
This one has
water. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Devin, I've had several ryes, and actually this one is almost at the top of that as well. But what I'm tasting from this is it's a very clean taste. And I don't know how to describe it, but it's just it just really tastes good. I mean, there's nothing, maybe as far as some of the malted barley in it, but it's just clean, period.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice candied finish. Actually, that's the thing too, is with ryes, years and years that I spent as a bartender, those were my formative years getting into getting obsessed with whiskey, which obviously I've made a life out of. But in those early years, like as I was actually learning a bit about whiskey, I really found myself clinging to rye. But my one complaint about rye, especially most American ryes, is it's a very, very short finish in most cases. I do enjoy a good mouthfeel of a rye. I like the spice. I like the punchiness of it, but I do wish they'd stick with me a bit longer. Whereas, single grains, maybe it is that combination of malted barley or good malted barley from Isla, because this one is I'm almost 100% positive. Even the malted barley component is 100% Isla grown as well, which I do think has a higher quality than even mainland barley. But yeah, it's got a nice lingering finish. It's not quite as much as, let's say, sherry dripping single malt, but at the same time, it's got a nice punchiness that's staying with me. Some licorice tones that comes up as it dries.
You're correct. This both the barley and the rye are both from Isla. It's on here. So, um, yeah, and I think also to add on that, the 95.5 component that we normally see, I think just gets old after a while in rye. So I think that's why a lot of people have kind of gone away from it, especially when though that 95.5 gets really herbaceous. I mean, I've had some really good ones, but those herbaceous notes get a little heavy sometimes, and they're a little too green for me.
Yeah.
So I think it's awesome to have some diversification in that market. So, and then have they said if it's always going to be 55-45?
They haven't said, look, as you know better than anybody, whenever they tell me something, they break that rule. Okay. I'm right now cleaning up the mess from all the time I've spent over the past couple of years telling people black art is retiring, black art is retiring, black art is retiring. And now I'm getting some death threats over the global travel retail releases.
It's
we
retiring
say
to travel retail.
yeah. Well, and I try to explain to people,
It's
when you only have a little bit of something, like global travel retail is like your market, but I get it, and the thing is, it's as frustrating, especially for a brand ambassador, as for anybody. But it truly is. Bruichladdich is very dynamic. It's one of the youngest. How many people here have been over to Isla and visited Bruichladdich? Number of people, yeah, obviously great. I mean, it is definitely one of the younger thinking distilleries of the island. Definitely more younger employed too. I mean, I swear, sometimes I'm there and I'm like, I look like one of the old Scotch guys, but it's also that they're adjusting expectation, they're adjusting to a changing whiskey market and growing new markets. But yeah, I would say the way we're seeing the Laddie rye, which is, as I mentioned, an American only release, there's been nothing to indicate that it's going to be a shifting concept. But again, it's not, even if somebody had said to me, this is the way it's going to be forever, I still wouldn't believe them.
Fair.
We always shift, but I would say right now it's not planning on being changed. We put a lot into the new Laddie rye production, which is actually, consider it, guys, this is a small distillery. It's not many. I mean, we're talking about less than 100 employees. And we are spending probably about 60% of our year devoted towards distilling our unpeated whiskeys, classic Laddie and other unpeated whiskeys on that side of our portfolio. Roughly about 30% of the year on Port Charlotte, 10% of the year on Octomore, with cleaning cycles in between, obviously. Pretty powerful cleaning cycles after Octomore. So for us to actually be investing so much in this rye as we have, I think that would shift those numbers a bit. Obviously, the rye would be coming in toward the end of the unpeated whiskey distillation, but it's a pretty considerable investment of time and effort. A lot of casks have gone over to this side. One thing I will say that Bruichladdich is a little bit quiet about is exact numbers of casks. So I don't like to claim that I know how many bottles of Laddie rye have been made, but I believe that we'll be seeing that pretty much as a stanchion in our portfolio for the next few years.
So
what's the total annual production? Do you know of Bruichladdich? How many liters?
I want to say 1.2 million liters.
Okay, yeah, I mean, Caol Ila is way above that. So,
well, Caol Ila is the biggest producer on the island.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we are still, I believe, now the third smallest producer of whiskey on the island.
Yeah. Okay.
Still proud to be the number one private employer on the island.
That is correct.
So Devin, out of curiosity, from a whiskey nerd perspective, I know that y'all retired the Lock and Doll range a few years back. Do you ever plan to maybe do like a one-off limited release again of that, or enough fans of that kind of like clamoring for it to do something again?
I'll be honest with you. I haven't asked Adam personally about the Lock and Doll releases, as I saw them as kind of Jim's babies. That being said, I don't know if Adam has any plans to resurrect it. I haven't heard anything towards it. So it is something I'd be happy to ask him and report back to the team because I think it's a fantastic question. And I always like for the clubs to express that interest. We had some of the Lock and Dolls in the independent bottling tastings that we had that I was last with you guys for, and they are absolutely incredible whiskeys. They drive so much interest, and definitely in. Oh, good. I was pretty much right on the nose. Not bad. Thank you for looking that up, Andrew. But yeah, I would say with both the Rins and the Lock and Dolls, like the whiskey nerds like us, we go crazy for it. So it's always good to mention it to Adam, like, hey, they're still asking for this. They're still asking for this because, as I said, it's such a dynamic distillery, and I used to start a lot of tastings with the good clubs and just kind of try to remind them how much power y'all have. Like when you want to tell some of these masters of whiskey that you're lucky enough to spend time with due to this club, they listen. You're talking about these Fagio releases, you're talking about these annual releases. Also, as I mentioned before, talking about the shifting whiskey economy. Every time that we mention to Adam, hey, I'm getting a lot of people asking about the X4. I get a lot of people asking about the Lock and Doll, the Rins releases. I see it coming in the future. So promise you, the message will be relayed because it was fantastic. I agree.
Yes, I love Lock and Doll. I think we all, I think most of us
right
here. Go ahead, pour sample number 2. I will say about this, when I was pouring this, I absolutely love the nose. I will say that the cork did break on this one, so I had to get a new cork. I think I filtered everything out, but please look in your sample bottles, make sure there's no cork in there. It looks like Chris's bottle of Classic Laddie also broke. This is, shoot, I'm trying to remember what year this was. I want to say this was 08 or 09. I'll have to go back and look at because I bought this one at auction. Give me 1 second.
Well, the good news is, though, I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard it from Fraser, but the Laddie 10 is a part of the past now, but it is soon to be a part of our future.
Yep, it's coming back. He did say that while he was out here. So
yeah, I think it might have already happened had we not had this kind of like a tariff panic this year from so many importers and producers, like basically with obviously the fear of the tariffs. A lot of producers pre-ordered to avoid that. So I would have believed, to be, just my opinion, don't quote me on it, but I would have believed that had we not done that, we might have gone through to the Laddie 10 in the next month or so. But I think at this point now, we'll probably make it about halfway through 2026 before we start seeing the Laddie 10 hitting the shelves as our core expression.
So that'll be alongside the Classic Laddie, right?
Say again.
Not replacement of.
Say it again.
That'll be in. It'll be there along with the Classic Laddie, so it's not taking the place.
Is it, what I was under the impression it was going to be taking the place as our core.
Oh, wow.
But if Fraser said different, like, let me know, because I've been under that impression. This is going to be a regular part of the regular expression.
Well, I think that's good for all the naysayers about Nas whiskey. So now you got an age statement on there. I think that helps from that perspective. But I've always loved the Classic Laddie, so can't say anything.
The thing is, people don't realize, and they talk to me, as we mentioned, travel retail before. A lot of people will grab their bottle of Laddie 8 in travel retail, and they say, I got that Laddie 8, I really enjoyed it, but really, I like the Classic Laddie just as much. I'm like, well, because you don't realize, but your Classic Laddie is an 8. Most Classic Laddies these days are an 8-year-old minimum. And it's the best thing about it is that age of transparency code where you can actually see what the youngest cask used there is.
Yeah.
But, always
Uh,
interesting. Go
I
ahead.
think from the
Question.
label style, I think yours is probably like 2008,
I
2007.
think it was 2008. I'm pretty sure.
Because I think that's a little bit of like when they came out of Mothball in 96, they did a run of 10-year, like 2007, 2008. And then I've got some from 2012 when they did some of the first distillation from 2001, 2002 that they released in 12, 13.
Yeah, so the newer ones, which you're talking about, look like this.
Yeah.
This is 0708. You're right.
And
Yeah, so I think this is like the 0708 one.
So I had a decision to make here, either this one or this one, and I had another Laddie 10, but I was going to pick between these two. So hopefully I picked right.
I think you did.
Tell me your thoughts. You guys enjoy this?
I'll tell you, for me, this past year has been such a great year with the 18 as such a major part of our portfolio because, for me, for my job, it means I'm drinking Bruichladdich 18 quite a lot, which I have no complaints about. But what it starkly reminds me of every time I taste the 18 is like, wow, this is like 100% post-Renaissance Bruichladdich. So tasting this and anticipating the new Laddie 10, they've got a lot to answer for. They got to get near this. It'd be absolutely beautiful. This has that fruitiness that I so associate with pre-Renaissance or at least mid-Renaissance. Thank you, Andrew. Bruichladdich. That fruitiness that I only have tasted in some limited special new releases. There is definitely a post-Renaissance Bruichladdich, and then there's like the old days.
So, Devin, do you know what the ABV is going to be on the new 10 that they're looking at releasing?
Well, I know that we're staying our cask bill. I believe they're aiming for the 50% ABV. I think that's again going to be the kind of thing that we'll just have to wait until the actual release gets announced to see what Adam chose. But this is the thing. Bottling at 50% ABV, as you guys know, is ever so slightly out of the norm. Not hugely out of the norm, but like really for a core expression, it's not just a little bit higher than the kind of underwhelming 40%, 43%. I start getting comfortable around 46%. I really enjoy myself at the 50% ABV range. But, what's more important is kind of like thinking about why that choice is being made. Is it just economics? Most of the industry standardly fills casks at a 63.5% ABV, I think almost across the board, with a few variations because it's Scotch whiskey. But it was the decision of Adam Hannett, I think, actually, that settled at a fill strength at 59. It's standardly low, but at the same time, it means he's using even less water to bring the bottle to proof, which means he's kind of challenging you to play around with water. So I think that's kind of a very Adam philosophy. That's not even something that really is a throwback from Jim, a place where Adam has found his own way. And I really like that influence.
Yeah, I've noticed that a lot of
That was a pretty good
standard
non-answer, right? Sorry.
no, but you're saying like generally the releases you're having now are a little bit higher proof. They're maybe closer to 50. That's been a standard thing for you guys, and hopefully it's that direction, at least 46.
Yeah. But I think it all comes down to that finished product, and always so that there are certain things that I can say will always be a rule. You'll never see chill filtration, and you'll never see unnatural coloring. And I've been changing my vocabulary on that a lot lately because some of these people are calling E150A natural coloring, and that's just a thing. Like, why would you say that? But Bruichladdich, usually you'll actually see on the bottles they won't say like no artificial coloring. They'll say no non-natural color. It's quite interesting. But in terms of like the core range being released at a 50% ABV, we do that with Classic Laddie. We've done that with the rye. We've done that with the Port Charlotte. But I think it all comes down to the texture when those casks are being vatted at warehouse number 6.
Well, good thing we don't have to worry about Jim's Bowmore days when he would throw some coloring in those old Bowmores. But also, I was going to say before you mentioned the chill filtration, as long as you're bottling at a minimum of 46%, then we don't have to worry about the chill filtration. I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised how much more I like this at 46% than some of the 50%ers.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, like, play with water still, because I think these get better
Yeah.
with a bit more than I would standardly put in. I actually found, like, that's another thing. Like, when I do water, I never, you know, I always try different degrees of water. You know what I mean? Like, I'll put in a drop or two first, and then I actually get a little bit more liberal with it later and see if I can find that perfect sweet spot. So I think these, especially with the unpeated nature and the wine casks, the really looking for those more subtle flavors with the unpeated whiskeys, the water can play a lot of role.
So I think most people on this tasting know I hate adding water as a personal preference, but
Really?
I've opened up to it over the last year as there's been a couple that are really good with water. I will say I added just a couple of drops. The honey comes out a lot more on this with a couple of drops of water. So
Those of you guys who have been to Bruichladdich and as members of the execs, I hope that they welcomed you and treated you really well. If not, let me know. Not that I'm going to be able to do anything about it now, but definitely the next time you go, you let us know. We will make sure you're well taken care of. But a part of the
26, I'm going. So
yeah, well, trust me, they're going to take care of you. But part of the tour for a lot of people, they get to go down to the actual spring on the Octomore farm, where we are drawing that spring with us. All the water we use to bring whiskey proof. And I would, I would come back every year with like the Costco water bottle filled with that Isla spring water just to use at tastings. Right. I mean, I want you to understand the sacrifice here because, you're only allowed to bring so much whiskey off the island. Right. And that little airport, they are so over the top checking your bags. I'm actually deciding I want to bring home this whole bottle of water instead of a bottle of whiskey, just for the effect that I can bring to my tastings to say, hey, this is the water you're going to use today. This is actually incredible spring water from the Octomore farm. But the problem was every time I did a tasting, I'd tell them that and they'd be like, yeah, bullshit. How am I supposed to prove it to them? So at the end of the day, like nobody believed me. So I stopped doing it. Now I'm bringing home whiskey. But it is incredible water. One of the things that we heard about it on my visit was that geologists have actually come out to that spring and studied it to kind of surmise that its source is actually in mainland Scotland. That spring is fed by some kind of an underground river that's actually going underneath the channel there. And I think it's so incredible. It's such an incredible story. It is such a magical part of our whiskeys and actually being there. And I don't think that I'm going to be able to make it down that hill very much anymore as my knees are starting to go with age. So it's just something I really enjoyed. So if you haven't, next time you go, make sure and visit the spring.
we'll make sure to work that in.
Bring up a good logistics question. So I'm going to be in Iowa next year as well, and I've only
Awesome.
taken the ferry across. So are they actually really, are you just being like, anecdotal, or are they actually really, really enforcing like the weight or number of bottles you can take off Isla? I'm just curious.
Oh my God. I don't know why, but
Take the ferry for more bottles.
take the ferry for more bottles. Now I haven't taken the ferry yet, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Like hey, I to be honest, like I should take the ferry. I wouldn't have to complain about this. You take almost as much bottles as you can fit. But on the plane, this tiny little airport, they are so bored, man. You'll get through security, which is pretty heavy security for a tiny little airport. But then you'll get through, and you're just like sitting there in the waiting room waiting for your flight, and suddenly they'll come in and be like, "Oh, we're checking your bags again. Come on." like they'll check your bags while you're waiting for your flight. It is like over the top. So yeah, I mean, obviously you're not really, unless you're like, I don't know, Houdini sneaking bottles after security. I don't know what they think they're going to get out of it, but it goes to show you they're really. I don't think they're so much worried about you taking home more whiskey. I think they are very secure on that airport because they don't want bad substances on Isla. But it is strangely one of the most secure airports I've ever been through. The
But it's
ferry takes
also
4 hours.
the weight. It's also the weight on that little
Yeah,
plane. So
absolutely.
because
think that's
I
the
took
thing.
the
Once I'm
plane too,
underweight, I'm
and
fine.
yeah,
Right?
it's the
It's a
bags that
40-man
weigh
turbo
different.
prop.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can't
it's
exactly
not
just
big
go.
plane. You go up and you come back down, but
It's
yeah, it's just
scary
the
enough
weight.
as it is without like people
Yeah,
fitting like 500 pounds in their bag.
yeah,
But
it's
wow,
loud. It's loud and it's
well,
yeah, it's
it's
trippy.
it's an experience.
Just buy 2 seats, you're good.
Yeah,
That's
Check
why
your
you guys
bag
are
or something, I
execs.
guess. I don't know,
yeah,
maybe.
and go with the spouse, so their luggage is as equally heavy as yours, so you can bring enough back. I brought back 8 bottles just from Isla alone, with 2 of us, so you could do it.
I can promise you, Remy doesn't pick up the check for the extra seat or the extra luggage.
Well, you're public company, bud.
I managed to make it up elsewhere. I made it up in an extra bottle of X4 this year for reserve for a special tasting with the Execs Whiskey Club.
Well, there we go. In
That's
there's
So,
one of those around here somewhere, but it's
so the
it's
X4
gone.
Octomore is amazing. You gonna give us some tasting notes or recommendations on the current X4 that just came out?
Oh, so I'm still waiting my release. They're not. That's Scotland and Germany only. I did order it, but they are no longer shipping to Washington for whatever reason. I think Bruichladdich switched recently to shop for their shipping, at least here in the U.S. And so, things changed. I used to be able to get stuff shipped to me when I was living in Seattle. But for
Yeah.
some reason, once another, like I go to order it when I saw the X4 release, and it wouldn't ship to me. So I actually had to, go through back channels and reach out to the team and say, "Hey, can you send me this?" Usually, I don't have to do that. However, I am still waiting it. I hope that it gets sorted out because I do have a few, folks like yourselves that just count on being able to get those special releases.
I
So
think Washington State is actually pushing the shippers to scan their packages a little more and make sure that they're not bringing in alcohol. I've never had a problem shipping to Washington. In the last 3, 4 months, I've lost quite a few packages, and gotten charged some big charges. So I'm actually no longer shipping bottles. I'll ship sets, but sorry,
yeah.
Kevin. But and
Oh man.
so yeah, I've lost a lot to Washington lately. So I think
That's
that might be why.
something. I did mention it's Fraser in my last conversation. I understand. This is how it goes with shipping these days, but that was disappointing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I will let you all know when I get my X4.
I'm waiting for mine too. Mine's coming too.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thankfully, New York's easier than Washington DC or Washington State, and Washington DC is kind of my go-to smuggling for
Mhm.
everything. DC
Absolutely.
is the
Yeah.
Wild West, and then I just get everything shipped
Yeah.
from DC anywhere else I need to go.
No problem. Nice.
Go ahead, pour the 15 if you haven't already. Hopefully, this lives up to the 10. We shall see.
Yeah, that 10 was a beautiful experience. Thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah, did everyone
Really
like
enjoyed
that?
it.
Does anyone not like that? Actually, maybe I should.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone liked it.
It
Okay.
sang. It definitely sang with that fruitiness. I love it. Yeah.
All right, on to the 15. Again, this is for a similar time period. I think that's also kind of why I picked that 10 since they were released around the same time. So
So this 15, is kind of fits the profile, like my dating profile for the perfect whiskey. One of my all-time favorite finishes in Sauterne, but not just in Sauterne, in the creme de la creme of Sauterne, Yquem. I mean, gosh, I know you guys have heard it before, but I love talking about the history of Yquem. That this is a wine that was collected by Thomas Jefferson. This is a wine that was created by accident. The only reason that Sauterne has the flavor it has is because of a microbial infestation. It is pure nature at its most beautiful, and that sings such a story to me. I found myself really gravitating towards a chem or Sauterne finished whiskeys, but this 15-year-old just off the nose, coming off the 10, I'm blown away. It just really entered into the palate in such a strong way.
I was actually surprised I don't get a ton on the nose on this. Like the 10 hit me right away, where this one is a little more subdued. Although it may need to sit in the glass for a little bit.
I mean, that even doesn't, that 46 hits differently than that last 46. Am I right?
Yeah, on the palate for sure. 100%.
I mean, you have to almost check your numbers again to be like, is that really the same ABV? It just goes to show you, like, even cask influence can really affect that finish. This is why sometimes people, as they explore their palate, they will say peppery tones, or chili tones, like spicy tones, and it's really just it's the heat in the back of the palate. It's not even flavor as much as it's just like sensation. So, peppery whiskey like this is a peppery tone that you're surprised this is coming from a French white.
Yeah, there's a pickup on that for sure. I'm also getting like sweet yellow raisins on this.
Absolutely.
I think on the front.
Creamy. These are I believe they're starting off in bourbon hogsheads, and it's a finish in the Echem casks, but it's a considerable finish. It's not just an acing, short finish, 2 year, 1 year. I believe it's a full 3 to 4 year.
Yeah, this is really good. My opinion. Anyone else? Thoughts? You enjoying this?
Yeah, definitely much nicer than the 10. Definitely.
It definitely doesn't taste like a 46. Right? This is drinking more like 50 plus.
Yeah.
For sure. It's crazy how much it picks up on that back palate. Like once you've swallowed, like it sits on the tongue, it keeps going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is really good. And I'm usually more into the higher octane. But I would drink this all day.
Yeah. It surprises me.
Speaking of higher octane, this is actually one of our lower proof tastings we've ever done.
Yeah.
So if you're normally used to our 50+% and 60%, I apologize, but I think there's still some really good stuff in here. So yeah, that's wonderful. I'm glad we opened this. This has been sitting, I think I've had this for like 3 or 4 years. So when I say,
Yeah, because there is a 15-year-old that's like a Asia only release, but this is considerably spicier.
Mm.
So it might be a nice new little sweet spot right there. The honey tones, like with Sauterne, I typically get it's almost like creamy citrus tone usually, but as Nanda mentioned, like it's more raisin, it's more golden raisin or even darker raisin. It's sultana. It's even edging towards a sweetness, and I think that the reason is because you're getting this balance factor of that kind of honeyed citrus sweetness of the Sauterne, but it's balancing really so well with that sea salt, that spray, that proximity, maturing right there on Isla. This is such a Bruichladdich one-on-one kind of thing, and I don't like to, harp on it with people that I think really obviously know this distillery and have celebrated like the sheer community of it. But it's if there's one thing that needs to always be kind of a drum that always needs to be beaten on with Bruichladdich, it's their connection to the community. I mentioned before, still the 1.25 to 1.5 million liters annually makes us the third smallest producer of whiskey on the island, an island of 9 distilleries with the 10th coming. However, the largest private employer of Iliacs, and that's because we are hiring locals to work our warehouses, locals to work our bottling halls, but also because we're buying from local farmers. We're actually keeping the whiskey on the island, so we're hiring locals to supervise these warehouses, and that just needs to be echoed upon. There's so many distilleries on the island that are putting these whiskeys on ships. The ships are going to the mainland. The whiskey's going on a truck, driving 3 hours in from the coast into what's basically a bonded warehouse, which is cheaper to maintain. But they're not leaving that conversation with you out of the story about sea salt in the air. Sea salt doesn't make it all the way to Glasgow. It's just not that it goes. But keeping 100,000 on Isla is such an important part of the flavor profile that what people ask me, does that mean the whiskey's salty? No, I don't. It's not salty. What happens is it's like a chef thinks of salt. A chef thinks of salt in the way that it ties certain flavors together. So instead of that creamy citrus honey and sultana raisin, I'm getting these cherry tones where they're meeting right in the middle with a little bit of salt tying them together.
I do love how the Bruichladdich, the core taste of Bruichladdich still shine in this, even though there's a finish to it.
Yeah.
To your point, that salinity is always something you get. Heather honey's still there. This is really fun. I was going to ask how many employees do you have on the malting floor over there?
Oh well, we're trying, right, man? I mean, it could happen. Ask Fraser. He's so much more connected to it. But at the same time, they keep saying it.
At least 5 more years, he said. I asked.
Yeah, now more than ever is, especially with Port Ellen resurrecting, is the question coming up. Is Bruichladdich still plan on malting on Isla? And I find it helpful to engage with whiskey consumers about Bruichladdich, about saying we could very well go through Port Ellen to get our malt. It's not because they're owned by Diageo that Bruichladdich does not. It's not just because of that, Yeah. We just feel that we have a stronger relationship and better control by going through Baird's. But again, as 100% self-contained is the vision, is it 3 or 4 years down the line? Maybe. But remember, between that 4 years, we have another B impact assessment where we have to cut down on our sustainability, our transparency, our accountability. So even though I love your cat, Kevin, even though we are definitely so sustainable and so transparent and just so energy conscious on just about everything we do, it does cost some carbon to bring peated malted barley from the Highlands and Inverness at Baird's all the way to Isla. That's one place where we could improve upon. So, the plan could be 3 or 4 years down the line, but 2026 is a whole another impact assessment. We got to beat that score that we beat again last year by 20%. So think about malting floor, maybe even on a smaller scale for some experimental releases. Then who knows? Maybe the next Faygiel or Friends of Bruichladdich release will be a floor malted Bruichladdich. It could happen.
Or maybe the next execs release of Bruichladdich.
That's what I'd like to see. Yeah.
Working on it.
Well, this year may be a special year for actually getting a Bruichladdich single cask into the market. So I definitely wanted to make sure and mention that to you. because I want to make sure that the right people hear about that first.
Ready
Genie
and
Warehouse
willing.
is working on it.
Well, I can't say anything more than it's being considered right now. It's not traditional, as you guys know, to send a single cask program into the United States. And I think that the biggest problem with single cask programs in the whiskey world right now is a proliferation. Retailers that are pushing out 23, 24, or even 80 bourbon single casks a year, they're just not thinking in the same mindset as buying a single cask of scotch. So for one thing, right off the bat, like that is kind of a, yeah. No, it is not. But that is one thing that's kind of like limiting it. But I also think that, like, with the whiskey climate of right now, the key would be to bring in a very, very small, limited selection of single casks. Very, very small. Very, very small. We're talking about only the top, only the very tippy top. Which, I mean, you guys are golden. But I mean, probably with a retail partner.
And plus, I'm right next to High Time, and they push a lot of Remy, so
Trust me, even though I'm East Coast now, trust me, I'm speaking up high time in this conversation.
There you go.
I love Jordan. All those guys are the best, please.
Yeah. So before we pour the fourth, I'm wondering what of the first three, what was everyone's favorite? Because it kind of amps up from here. Plus, we have our OB or IB bottlings that are going to be in the next two. So
The 10-year-old.
I've got to go with the 10 as well.
Nice.
15.
Steve says 15. Kevin says 15.
Yeah. I'm on the 15 train, but Sandra said she's a 10-year.
I'm 10. The 15,
I'm in the 15.
little water starts rounding out, but it's a little sharp. It's a little spicy. But the 10 just has a better mouthfeel.
The 15 was the smell. It was
Too weird for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. No, I pick up on that.
10 for me. The nose on the 10 is beautiful. I really love the palate on the 15, but I really like the 10 surprised me. I think maybe more than I thought it was going to going into this tasting, because I was like, all right, I think it's going to be solid and just fun to try because it's an older 10, but it really held well. Really good whiskey.
Yeah, I really like that one too. Very nice.
I think I'll say I'm maybe leaning towards the 15, but that 10's right there. And I thought the Regeneration project was really fun, but I just like the other two more for my palate.
Yeah, big hitter coming up though. Friends of Bruichladdich releases are pretty epic. So I gotta say
that's the last one in the lineup. Hold on, number 4 we're going to be doing is this 19-year.
I'm sorry.
I did not go by ABV, FYI. We're going through, since it's the age of Laddie, we're going to go the next
1401
corresponding age. So we got a 19-year-old here. This is Bourbon Hogshead Cask, coming at 55.1. This is from Whiskey Broker. So let's pour this, see what we think. This was a UK only release that I had to get shipped over here, so hopefully we enjoy this. Now Whiskey Broker, we can get Whiskey Broker through SDO, which or Scotch Drinkers Only, which you guys know if you were on those tastings. But
ooh, that's lovely. That's got a little peat on it in the back on the taste.
And I got to see when this was distilled. I actually think this was prior to 2001 distillation. This is an older bottling.
Could this be like Lockendall?
So as I understand, this is the private cask 1401. This is the Bourbon Hogshead.
Hold on, I'm looking at right now.
2004 distillation. Yeah, 2004 distillation and bottle in like. Ooh, quite a nose on it.
Yeah, because I was picking between a Rins and this one, so I know this isn't a Rins.
Ooh, that's lovely. That's a great pour right there.
Yeah. It's got that kind of buttered popcorn finish.
And sweet
That
barley,
really round.
and then that peat on the back. That's lovely.
It's really, really nice.
That's my favorite so far.
Yeah, I haven't tried this yet. Let's see.
I think the nose hints towards a Port Charlotte kind of like level of peating.
So I don't get any peat on the nose,
Yeah,
but
not
I
either.
definitely get on that back tongue.
I'm not picking up the peat either, but yeah, it could be there. Yeah.
Yeah, just only on the for me, only on the palate, not on the nose. Very light. It's very
I'd
light,
say
but
there's
it's nice.
There's a slight earthy note in the nose. Because the nose
Yeah,
is
I get it on the
sweet.
nose and the retronasal, but it's like the peat. It's like Bunnahabhain when you get like the peated water, but you don't get the smoke.
Yeah.
So like you get the peat, but not the smoke.
It's really nice. Just light. Yeah. That's a great pour.
That's been a nice bit of a zing on the back of my lips to give me 55%. It give me that kind of little palate
drink-
cleanser. I love it. I like a little heft,
Drinks,
you know.
So this does the same thing the 15 does, where it pops up at the end or in the back palate, but like way bigger.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, the finish is actually that kind of sweeter, buttery characteristic. It's also got a nice little bit of orange or orange citrus tones, orange peels. Plays in really well because I'm still getting the sea salt tones. Like I'm still getting that kind of little coastal character, but very light wood influence here. I feel like it's much more of the barley sugar, the sweet tones that are actually noticing.
Honestly, I'm not really in the peat, but I don't taste it. I don't taste it on the peat.
Steve, you got to stop saying you don't like peat because you have
I know
plenty that you've liked.
Well, it's not my go-to, but
yeah, for sure.
this is good.
Yeah, this really, really jumps out. I mean, it might be taking the forefront for me as well.
I'm gonna add a little water to this one. Let's see. See what we think.
And that is just straight bourbon cask, and it's not really knocking me over with the vanilla. It's not really knocking me over with any caramel at all. I'm getting those kind of cinnamon and coconut tones that I would get with that I associate with ex-bourbon casks, but I'm not getting any caramel. This cask itself would have been in my imagination, this is a cask that Bruichladdich was resting away from Balvenie. You know, no hints of caramel in here.
What drives the caramel flavor?
Typically, hemicellulose is a compound found inside tyloses in American white oak or Quercus alba. So we would say essentially, like, you know, these flavor profiles all come from some compound. Specifically, caramel we tie to hemicellulose, which is found in European oak and Spanish oak and French oak, but lighter amounts in Quercus mongolica, these Inara casks. But yeah, like honestly, caramel is something that it's hard to get away from. So typically, when you see a distiller like, let's say, David Stewart over at Balvenie, who typically tries to edge away from those caramel over, like there's a lot of attention paid towards the cooperage or towards specific casks that are really, yeah, it's very unusual to get a cask that doesn't like overpower you, especially after 19 years with caramel.
Yeah. I would say with a couple of drops of water, I think the that Bruichladdich character comes out a little more. I wasn't really getting much salinity out of this, or any really, when I first poured this. So
See, I'd be afraid because of the sharpness of this one. This is one of those ones that I'm going to be very slow about how much water I add in because I love the viscosity of it. I don't want to break it apart, you know?
Yeah.
Charpentier is really nice in it. You still, it kind of brings up the saltiness, the salinity a little bit. It's a little brighter.
It's funny, 1401, also one of my favorite releases. Speaking of Balvenie again, the Ton series used the 1401 as one of my quite interesting, you know, just a little parallel, creepy.
Oh, those Balvenie 1401 ton releases were legendary. And
I was gonna say, there's one of those around here somewhere.
Yeah.
We still have to do it. We have a Balvenie tasting in the pipeline. I just need to figure it out with the reps. Get that done.
It's a lucky number in whiskey. That's it. Who knows? Yeah, fantastic.
I like this more the longer it sat in the glass. It's not my favorite of tonight, though. I would put the 10 and 15 over this.
Well, Nando, if you need, the new William Grant rep in LA is a former Martell rep that I used to work with. So you got a Frenchman over there that started working with the Balvenie and Glenfiddich.
Well, yeah, get him in my DMs. Let's do it.
Yeah, he's around the corner from you. He lives down there.
We'll fly you out. We'll have some fun.
Nando, the yellow submarine in the background's a nice flex.
Oh, I just got shit up here. Nothing any of you guys would really want, I promise.
This whole thing. I got so upset at Jordan because I was gonna buy the yellow submarine that he had there and my wife was like, Devin, call Jordan, get that bottle. Call Jordan, get that bottle. I will. I'll call him next week. I will. I'll call him. He always answers me. And I call him up. He's like, I just sold that last week. So I'm still on the lookout for another exact bottling there. I have the 95. Yeah. I'm missing the 2001.
Are you looking for this one?
Yeah.
Oh, I got you, bud. Although this one is I think just the bottle only, really. There's nothing left.
Yeah. I'll find it. You know, it's always a big winner. Yeah, you guys know there may be a yellow submarine this year. Just an echo of a chance of a possibility that you might see a yellow submarine release from Bruichladdich this year.
God damn it, Devin! I'm trying to fucking save money this coming year.
Just the slightest whispers of it have been. I've just heard them out of the corner of my ear.
Okay,
I might back the WMD series.
All right, so we just got to start giving plasma again, Nando.
Yeah, something.
We'll get there.
Okay, we are. Are we ready for number 5?
Let's do it.
Okay, this is the one I'm most excited about, if I'm being honest, because I've been staring at this fucking bottle for 2 years to where can I put this in a tasting, and I was going to do this for my. Oh, there you go. So I was going to do this for my 40th birthday. That ended up not quite working out. So we saved it, and so it's getting in here. And also, I will say, I apologize for the price of this tasting because I normally try and keep these at no more than $80-$90. This is the reason why, and plus the Friends of Bruichladdich, both of those bottles are over $600. This one actually, and I realized I undercharged for this. I had this at $750. I looked up in my receipts this week and I coincidentally found this one. It was actually $950. So you actually got a discount technically on this tasting. But
I'm not surprised. Yeah, this is an incredible find.
But thank you guys. I appreciate the support. And I'm glad we finally got to open this one because I've been looking forward to this for a while. So And I will say the nose on this was beautiful when I poured these samples. I was so excited to drink this, but I didn't. I held off till today.
Anybody else? Anybody here have tried any of the still series yet?
Just Blacker still.
Yeah. All
I
right,
had
Andrew
it
and
in DC at
this was
Yeah,
the last release of 3 in the still series, starting as mentioned a moment ago, but blacker still, then the redder still, and the final release being the older still. This
here's the redder
it's
still. Here's the golder still. See, I
Yeah.
just need that blacker. God damn
yeah. Same problem, Nando. Same problem.
you know, and then on top of it, like the strange places that I've found this bottle. I guys, incredibly weird places that I've found this bottle.
Fuck, that's good.
I was up in Beacon, New York, this tiny little town outside of Poughkeepsie. Walk into like an Irish pub. It was like a sports bar. It wasn't a whiskey bar. But they're up on the wall behind a little cage, dusty as hell, bottle of Golder Still. And same thing, upstate Washington. I was visiting the Westland warehouses. Had a 2-hour drive back to Seattle before I get home for the evening, and I stop off at a pub just to get a bite to eat. And you know, mentioned to the bartender I'm a Bruichladdich ambassador, and he brings out a bottle of Golder Still. And this, he sold it to me for $19 a pour. I sat there for an hour and a half. I looked up hotels rather than drive home. I mean, honestly, what a rare find. And then, of course, I came back 6 months later, and the bottle was gone. I think after I made such a stink out of it, the bartender started mentioning it to the owner. It was like, do you know like anything about this bottle? Apparently, this guy said it's pretty incredible. And yeah, so they poured it off. But
$19 a pour is insane.
I honestly, that's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, all right, let's see if there's a La Quinta anywhere near here because I don't need to get back to Seattle tonight. You know,
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
We're gonna have a session with that bottle. Like, so Devin, you learned the lesson that a lot of us have. You find great bottles, they're still at a random hole in the wall fucking place, and you're just thinking like, okay, I've learned the lesson like you have, where sometimes you're so excited, you share that genuine like enthusiasm with them, and then they figure out what the hell it is, the owner takes it back, or they start pushing it, and it's gone.
yeah, that's the way it goes. You know, like those places where people don't know what they have are few and far between these days. Remember when it was a more common experience? But yeah, when you find something good, keep your mouth shut. Just enjoy it in quiet. Yeah.
So for comparison, so my normal process for tastings is cost divided by 18. Because of it was really high for this one, so I did cost divided by 19. This pour was $39.50. So you got it for $20.50 less than what we're splitting today. But so $19 a pour is insane. You can't even get like decent bourbon for $19 like this more, I feel like. So that's
total of 4,866 bottles ever made of Golder Still.
At the end of the day, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. This is so good. I like this better than the Blacker Still. Actually, I just had Blacker Still when I was in DC at Jack Rose. So
that's the thing is, I would like to obviously the distinction, the history of the age statement, the ABV. Like Blacker Still has a lot going on, but I'm just not always won by really dark sherry bombs. And that Blacker Still was like a sherry attack. So you know, honestly, I don't know how long it's been since I tasted Redder Still, which I think I only ever tasted on Isla. But I'm really enjoying this Golder Still. Quite beautiful, creamy. Got everything I'm looking for to really showcase the American oak casks that I think are also part and parcel with the signature of Bruichladdich, but just at a higher degree here with nuance that kind of speaks to Bruichladdich of the 80s. What can you say?
Ah, fuck, that's beautiful. I'm glad we opened this one for the tasting. So,
you know, and then on top of it as well is interesting. I had been looking for further references to the types of casks that were used here, because this is a 84 distillation, full term maturation, 23 years in a cask that is very kind of confusing. It's called a squat bourbon hogshead, a result of basically some cooper's experimentation in the mid 80s, looking for a different effect of flavor coming from casks that they might be able to actually try reshaping casks. Look, nowadays that to us is kind of like, so that, that's part and parcel with cooperage. Like they know that we know that different size and shape and dimension casks result in a higher conversation between whiskey and wood. At that time in the 80s, especially in the United States, the cooperages that were serving the bourbon industry, they weren't being so experimental. So these squat bourbon hogsheads, kind of just like you might imagine, kind of shorter casks of water, so with a much bigger cask head and base. And it was, for the most part, an abandoned experiment. So this is kind of a result of Bruichladdich just kind of getting their hands on a few of these casks. And this Golder Still was not the only iteration where these bourbon squat hogsheads actually show their face. They actually also appeared in the 1985 release from the Rare or DNA series. If anybody saw that, it was a 1985 30-year-old, which you can still find here and there in the United States, but it was matured in these exact same casks.
Yeah. Bruichladdich in bourbon shines for sure. It just does really well in this. I think this is like a A1 example of that.
What a beautiful bottling. Show that again, please. Come on, Andrew. I think you had it at hand, right? I mean, really. I will always miss this. I celebrate the new Maverick bottles, but I'll miss the bell shapes from these, and the new Maverick bottles are sustainably better in terms of carbon footprints. Yeah. But those opaque bottles that Bruichladdich first entered into my vocabulary under, I'll miss them. Plus, I'll miss the tins. The tins are going away, guys. No, don't.
So it seems that they're still doing tins for some of the special releases.
So Octomore is the only thing in tin now. The new Black Art that's in global travel retail does not have a tin. Now this that Andrew's showing, but that you guys may be aware.
Friendly.
Yeah,
but
environmentally friendly.
I hate it for like $500+ bottles.
I mean, I agree, and I'm not going to lie to you. I agree, and it's an interesting thing, part of this conversation to have. Look, we are Clavi. We are all about sustainability, accountability, and transparency. These three core values are as important to us, a for-profit company, as profit. That is the definition of a B Corp. When you become B Corp certified, you are now able to turn to your board of directors and tell them, I want you to view sustainability, accountability, and transparency through the same lens as you view profit. Think about that, guys. These are for-profit companies. There are now 9,000 of them in the world who say that. And they got to put their money where their mouth is and continue to cut that sustainability, cut down on CO2, make the business more community focused, take care of their employees, all these things that they're doing. So getting rid of outer tins, it's just the right move. It's what we should do. It's what we should do. All of us in this room are whiskey collectors. I bet you we all have a closet like I do, full of outer tins, useless outer tins that dent just because you look at them the wrong way, right?
Yeah, but they save the dents on the bottles though, so that's
true.
There's a use
but
there.
To Andrew's point, when I buy somebody a $500 bottle of whiskey, that's usually like my boss or something. That's like a big deal. Even a $200 bottle of whiskey, like the Bruichladdich 18-year-old. I want to give it to him in a box. I don't want to give it to him in that tin, as much as I think that tin is the right move to make. So, it's weird to hear this from the Bruichladdich ambassador, but I got to tell you, like when I had our CEO, Douglas Taylor, in New York and Massachusetts a couple weeks ago, I had him join me to hit the market. We visited some great accounts up in Boston and then did a Q&A session with the Haven up in Boston, did a couple nice events, did the Keepers of the Quake dinner in New York. And I brought him in front of some really important retailers, and I said, and we got some opinions from them about this new packaging for the 18 and the 30 and the 21-year-old, and they echoed your sentiment, Andrew, and mine. So, was it the right move to make? Yes. Now we're taking into account our consumers' feelings on it, but yeah, listen, that's like I said before, like your opinion has power. I was a little nervous to bring it to him, but I was happy to have the opportunity to say to the CEO, people love the whiskey, people love the idea of it, people hate this packaging.
I would say for the
I'll challenge that a bit. Like, so honestly, a lot of the tins are outdated packaging. It's kind of like a bygone era. You see most industries moved away from it in general. Is it just us nostalgia nerds, or is it really industry currently? Like, I would challenge that a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So
but even with, go ahead, please.
I was just say the thing I love about the tin. So I don't think on the normal releases we need it for, or Bruichladdich needs it for Classic Laddie or the Laddie 10, Port Charlotte. I don't think you really need them from that perspective. But kind of like for those of us who have ever been like trading card collectors, like you get the shiny card and you're like when my son opens a pack of Pokemon now, he loves the shiny card, first. And that's like what he always looks for. Well, for those more expensive bottlings, I think you have to have it. Like that's like I'm so used to having it now, I don't want to give it up. And then these shelves would I will have more room on the shelves, but I love looking at the tins for the special releases. And just because you can do some fun things with those tins too, you can make it more of like a collector thing. And now I may be in the minority, maybe, but for those of us that are like big into this and have spent a significant amount of money, like I think we still like to see it for at least the special releases. So
it's a good point.
Special releases, I've had that conversation with some of the Remy execs too, and it's the in between. You're not getting rid of the Louis Trez packaging anytime soon. So,
trust me, yeah, they are not.
Right. Well, so the tins are maybe outdated, but like when you're spending $200, it's a luxury item. You need to make it feel like luxury. It can be something else, but like the recycled cardboard, as much as it's great for environmentalism, to Nando's point, like put it on the 10-year, put it on the classic, put it on your high volume stuff.
I'm actually okay even with the 18 having that. I like it with the 18. The 30, especially if you're trying to get $2,000 out of it. No, that's like that has to be the tin.
Like high-end stuff where you see the market goes, a lot of times it's wood or wood adjacent products kind of stuff. Like you see a lot of them do kind of weird packaging, which probably spend too much on, in my opinion, but the market likes that kind of stuff. So it's like you don't need tins and you need something else with the current market. But
recycle barrels and turn them into boxes or something. Like you can do something that's still like sustainable and
sustainable. Exactly.
Yeah.
And to Brian's point, I will say this, look, I miss it. I used to walk into the bars and restaurants and I'd see the Bruichladdich Classic Laddie tin next to the register. That'd be the bartender's tip cup. Not bad free marketing for us, But no, I agree with Nando. Like it doesn't need to be on the core expression. It doesn't need to be on the Classic Laddie or the Port Charlotte. As a matter of fact, just reducing the Aberg tin and changing to the new Maverick bottle for the Classic Laddie, just on that one expression resulted in a reduction in CO2 by 65%. But I agree with you. I think black art, it should stay in the tin. I think I don't even know if it's necessary with Octomore because the bottles themselves are very distinctive. Maybe the 0.3, I don't know. But like honestly,
I will say those are easier to knock over. So I like the 10 with the
That's true. There's like a bowling pin. Yeah. But the 30-year-old, I agree with you. Like, how are you going to get a $2,000 bottle of whiskey? And it is not just recycled paper. Just to be the brand ambassador for a second, is 100% recycled pulp paper made using 100% green energy from one of the most celebrated sustainability operations in the United Kingdom, Thomas Cropper and Sons. for which the Bruichladdich distillery did also receive the recognition of the most sustainable adder packaging of the year. That being said, I agree with you 100%.
On that note, go ahead and pour this 3 year we've got waiting for us, and let's finish this one up, or at least the cores, and then I'll stop the recording.
Yeah.
And oh, sorry, I should explain this. I apologize. So this is obviously not an OB. This is Friends of Bruichladdich, out of the Artisan Restaurant, which you guys may or may not know. I would assume everyone in this group knows it, maybe except for Steve. But this is a 33 and a third year. This came out earlier this year. I will say I bought 6 of these bottles. 2 went to friends that wanted to purchase them but didn't get them. And so this is the I think I have 1 bottle left after this.
So that's 4 total, right?
Sorry, what?
Said 4 total.
So I ended up with 4. Yeah. I sampled 1 out. We used 1 in a different tasting with friends here locally. So there's 2, and then there's this one, and I have 1 left. So this is coming at 46.2%. This is also Asian bourbon cask. Most of the stuff we've had today is Asian bourbon cask. So I think you're going to really enjoy. I've had this before. I think you're going to enjoy how much fruit is coming out of this one after 33 years in a bourbon cask. So
only 88 bottles ever made.
Yeah, there's not a lot for sure.
So 4 out of 88. He's got a half of a percentage point. Not bad. So my interactions with obviously the Friends of Bruichladdich is a great group. So supportive of the distillery's ethos and really like this distillery has gained such a level of following, especially from people that were maybe at the time not quite such whiskey nerds, but got into the sustainability story that they were hearing in The Water of Life or Scotch Golden Dream. People, I think, it really woke people, even in a new generation, up to the Bruichladdich distillery and what makes it stand out. But the Friends of Bruichladdich, like, just it's the organization has just been such a huge advocate and great way to kind of show how much a whiskey's following can come through. Out of the woodwork. Every now and then we get a new retailer in a smaller area opens up and they've not heard of Bruichladdich before. And it's not hard to show them how much love and appreciation this distillery has garnered from whiskey lovers over the years through clubs like you guys, clubs like Friends of Bruichladdich. But most of my experience with them has actually been with the actual producers of Water of Life, who are currently working on a new movie featuring kind of their exploration of Japanese whiskeys. So keep an eye out on them. Greg Swartz and the team over there. I think they are probably pretty often at High Times tastings.
They were just in my house. We did a tasting with them a couple weeks ago. So
yeah, they're absolutely wonderful people and one of the best groups out there for just inundating you with rare and hard to find whiskeys whenever you make friends with them. So it's always a great experience to taste a whiskey like this. Gosh.
Oh, I actually really like this one. I've heard some negative feedback online, but I really enjoy this. But I will say, bottle was about $650. So there's that. Is it a $650 pour? That's for you to decide. But really good. I really enjoy this.
I love the finish. Like, that's what's jumping out to me. There's a waxiness to it, or even a beeswax note that's coming out of the finish. That's really that is definitely vintage Bruichladdich signature to me. And yeah, as I hold on to it, I linger, some of those fruitier flavors are coming forward. But it's in that beeswax note at the end that I'm finding that very recognizable Bruichladdich finish. I want to spend more time at 46.2. I want to be careful about adding water before I go in, but it does not disappoint on the nose. I will say that the nose of this whiskey is really enticing.
So when I first had this, the first time I had it, it reminded me a lot of uh, Irish whiskeys that I really enjoy from the fruit aspect.
Yeah.
Which when I've told people that, they're kind of thrown off, like that's weird, but like I don't mean that in a demeaning way. I love Irish whiskeys and I love the fruitiness that's in them. I was kind of surprised how fruity this was when I first had it. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like I kind of body and texture, while I always kind of note it with whiskeys, it doesn't tell me everything. Some whiskeys are thicker, with less, like a higher degree of viscosity. And while as a texture, I enjoy that, doesn't always mean that they taste better or that they have a longer finish. And some whiskeys are thinner, but maybe a slightly more watery, but at the same time, like, yeah, they really just linger and stay with you. One of those that I love is Kalila, even without the peat notes. Kalila is just such a lingering, creamy finish that stays with you. So with this one at 46.2, yeah, I'm afraid to add water because I don't want to thin it out too much, because I also found it to start off pretty watery, not watery, but like less viscous.
It's
But
light.
now I've added water in, and I'm seeing like a little bit more come out in the nose, just off without even really going in. Just 2 drops of water, and now I'm just sitting here talking. I'm like, there's like a sherried sweetness or even a dessert tone that's like kind of just popping out on top of the glass.
Nando, to your point, it reminds me kind of like Redbreast and that unmalted barley characteristic with the fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. When people ask me to like describe the flavor profiles of Irish whiskeys, I always describe like fruit cocktail, right? And I usually credit that to triple distillation, which is obviously like really focusing on fruity or grassier flavors. But I see where you're coming from on this, especially with the lighter body. It does have kind of like a little bit of a reminder of some good old Redbreast. Yeah.
And what I'll say is I haven't had too many 30+ year Bruichladdich. So, and I don't know who here has, but we do have the opportunity to drink 3 tonight, depending on if you got all of the add-ons too. So there's that. But this is the first up. I'm going to stop the recording in a minute, but I'd love to hear from everyone. What was your favorite pour of the night? You can either throw it in the chat and I'll yell it out, or just yell it out.
Golder.
I gotta say, yeah,
I'm gonna have to go Golder still.
Yeah, without a question.
Golder still for sure.
GS, definitely.
Great.
Okay.
all right. Listen, I'll be the guy. The 1401.
That's my
Really?
second favorite. Yeah, I'm down with that for the
Loved
second favorite.
it.
Agreed.
Loved it. Yeah, loved it. And to be honest, it's not to downtrack. Every one of these whiskeys, especially in the sequence, really brought me along. Obviously, I love this job. I get an opportunity to taste these whiskeys. Obviously not these specific whiskeys, but some incredible whiskeys all the time. But sometimes you do find a flight that is ordered properly, and this was actually perfectly organized. So, and what did we just hold up there?
This was the bottle that you broke when you opened at my house.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So I've got a little bit left, so we'll drink this tonight. Okay, so
Oh.
Golder Still was a runaway winner. How about what was number 2 for everyone then? So
The 1401. The 1401.
Bring it.
Plus
Works
one.
for me.
15 for me.
Right?
Yeah.
Friends of
Sounds
Bruichladdich.
Good.
Yeah, the 1401.
15.
The 1401 or the 10. It's kind of depends on my mood.
Okay, so that's where the variability is. So oddly enough, so when we do these, I always love to see like how different our palates are, because the 1401 might actually be my second least favorite. I think I like the 10, the 15. I would probably go in order from there, or I would say Golder Still, Friends of Bruichladdich number 2 for me for my palate, and then 15 and 10 are essentially tied for third. You could give me either one of those and I'd love them. But did we enjoy the lineup? Was it a good lineup?
Absolutely.
Like it?
Fantastic.
Awesome. Good job, bud.
Thank you, Nando.
Anyone watching this on YouTube, cheers. We're now done.